Okay, hi everybody. This is my review of the Gravity Blanket, the weighted blanket for sleep stress and anxiety. Um, just quick, opening the box, checking it out. This is the 15-pound blanket. It's got a nice soft cover. They do tell you to wash it first, so I did. And when you look at it, you got one pattern on one side, then you have the plus pattern that most of you probably seen on the ads. So there are two complete different patterns on the other side. And overall, I mean, it's a comfort. I mean, it's about 6 foot long. I think this one measured 71 when I stretch it, and then like 47 when I stretch it the other way. So that's about the size of it. This is, a moderately heavy blanket, but what I noticed was when I picked it up the first time, it did something really weird, and I wasn't really too thrilled with it. So when you pick it up from the edge and you hold it, you can kind of hear all the beanbags in there. It really holds in. But if you notice, I'm going to put it back on the table now. Something definitely shifted. Put it back out again. And when I shifted it, all of a sudden all the weight has shifted. So now this is all empty space. There's nothing in here. Even if I was to stretch it back out again, a lot of people are complaining about lumps in it. And the thing is that the lumps are caused by the interior of this coming, not really loose because it is tied in the corners. You can see where the corners pulled in. But it's by the way it's held together. It doesn't really help keep it steady and keep it in one space. So I'm going to open it up. And here's these tiny little zippers here. And once you open it up, you are immediately confronted with how they hold it together. So that's it. There's a tie here in the center. There's a tie here on the corner. That's the inside corner. And then on the other side, this entire piece here, the entire 4-foot long side, there's a marker I was looking for, is only held in with two little ties. And these ties are just attached to the blanket, which will flex and bend. So if you have this new shift, this entire thing is going to shift around and move. So while the blanket, does the job, there's a lot of things that could have been designed slightly better. I mean, even the pockets, they don't come all the way down. So any of the beads here, so here it goes like this. Any of these beads here will eventually cross over into the next one. On this side here, it's even worse. I mean, wasn't even stitched all the way down. We're missing about a centimeter or two of space. For you Americans, that's an inch of space almost. That all of these beads in here can then shift around and go to the next one. So over time, this will have to get readjusted and readjusted. So I saw that this is going to be lumpy and bumpy, and if you toss and turn a lot at night, I mean, it's supposedly going to be hard to toss and turn, but even though taking the blanket out and moving it, it gets a lot of adjustment needed to get it to look straight again and to lay under it, and you still get these lumps. So I kind of put on my thinking hat and went, how can I fix this problem? So I made the interesting choice at the time to purchase two of these. I was one of the Kickstarter backers, so I got a couples pack. So what I did was I took the other blanket and I modified it. So I'm going to pick this one up first and just show you the difference now. This is a 20-pound blanket, so it will shift more. But if you noticed, it doesn't have that huge gap anymore. The gap's a lot smaller. In fact, if I hold it from the middle here, that gap comes down to almost nothing because I've modified this one. So this blanket has actually been modified by me. You can actually feel the table shift. And as I pull the corners of the blanket tighter, this mostly stays in place. It's not as shifted around inside, and it's not as lumpy anymore because I've added some of my own attachments. So when I open this one up, you're going to see right away what I did is I've actually added my own attachments and buttons. This way it holds at least a little bit more to the blanket and it doesn't shift out as much. So I have on the 6-foot side, the 72-inch side, I have their original quarter attachment, their original middle attachment 3 foot down the way, then their original corner attachment at the other end of the 6 foot, and then in between, about 17, 18 inches in, I put buttons. Then on the short sides, let's take this one out quick, I did the same thing. I put them even a little closer in. Again, you can see even this one, the pockets don't go all the way to the end, so eventually these beads will have to kind of get reshifted, or I may just go ahead and get a little sewing machine quick and just stitch them in. So this has been put in. Another button. This is holding it in place. I have another button here. So on that 1 4-foot side, I now have their original 2 corner ties, and then 2 of my own attachments that hold it in place. So it's better. It's actually not as floppy and loose and doesn't get like a big burrito all the time. So that's pretty much the adjustments I've made. I mean, it's not really anything major. I mean, you can see it's really quick, just a piece of fabric and a button on it. This is actually those iron-on patches. I just doubled it over. And in fact, I can show you really quick what I did because I got to do it again anyway for the other blanket. It's just a sew-on patch. You know, just ironed it on, just turned it over, and ironed it to itself so it's a nice piece. And I cut these into strips, and I sewed them onto the inside of the cover, and then I just put a button onto the interior pad. So this way, at least it solves that one problem. And for one blanket, it was about an hour or two worth of work, and maybe $5, $6 for the materials, and I was done. So that's my modifications that were pretty much necessary to make this blanket actually useful. So it's not as bad. I mean, I'm still not done. I'm probably going to wind up adding an attachment point here in the middle and here in the middle, just so I can have a little bit more, you know, construction here with it, so it doesn't all flip all over the place. So overall, without my adjustments, I would give this probably a 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, it is a weighted blanket. It does have a soft cover. It is pretty heavy. But the amount of work I had to put into it and thought I had to put into it to get it to be even this way still only makes it a 4 out of 5. So my adjustments make it a 4 out of 5. There's a lot of things that could have done better. I mean, just the idea of, you know, putting buttons on the sides, just making more attachment points. Even if it was those little ties and putting them every foot, it would have cost them a few cents and it would have held better. They can even put attachments in the middle here, and they could actually stitch it in so we wouldn't even see the stitching. So again, overall, without my modifications, 3 out of 5. With my modifications, it bumps it up a star. Again, there's plenty of other weighted blankets in the market. This one's fairly decent, but again, you know, it needs some work. So that's my review of the Gravity weighted blanket. Leave any questions or comments below, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thank you.